everyone out there on the wild web of the internet. This is Joseph. This is going to be my first video in drawing fundamentals, a collection of all the things I've learned, tips and tricks and whatnot. I don't have much time. I have to go to work, so we're going to get into this. So in this lesson, you can't see yellow. That's good. Now I know not to use it, or you'll be lost. We are going to do the 6 elements of art and planes and perspectives, and some simple drawing exercises. So, drawing the elements of, or the way it was explained to me in college by my professor, Chang Chu. Shout out to him. He is still teaching. If you want to find him in the world of 2025, he is in Dallas, Texas, still teaching art at Brookhaven Community College. But what I learned in his 2D fundamental class was all the 6 elements of art. And what he said kind of unlocked my brain. And he said, whenever you look at a piece of art, it is made of dots, lines, horizontal, vertical, and diagonal. Those dots and lines will make shapes, those shapes, if you add more dots and lines, will make forms, and then the other 2 are basically texture and form. So I'm gonna just do this real quick, and we'll give this one like a wood texture. Or grass. Or leather. And you're trying to, at least if you're doing it in one color, your pen has to be better. Or you have to really think about your mark making to make these textures feel very lifelike, or the big college word is verisimilitude of lifelike, and then patterns. Can't spell patterns. So whether or not if that's like checkerboard, or motifs. Like however, when you see like a brick wall and it has crosses in it. Things of those natures. And he said, yeah, most art is in architecture is made out of those things. So that was one of those things that kind of helped me figure that out. The next thing that I learned, and using these is what helps me build my perspective. So then we use dots, or one exercise that helps you with filling forms, and I'm not even sure if they still do this, but when I was a kid, they used to do weird things like, can you draw the box from the dots? And so you'd have to basically connect the dots and draw the form. So that is one of the techniques that I kind of mentally use when I'm drawing stuff. Not always do I have a solid picture. I mean, you can basically start kind of scribbling and then figure your way out as you go. But one of the things that that helped me also with finding things is learning to draw through my object. And when you draw through your object, you're basically finding the backside and the inside of your drawings so that you can figure out where things are connected. So like, now I know the backside of where this starts. So if I want to draw the face or draw a face on the backside, because I'm drawing a back view of someone's head, I know that the eyes would be about here, even though I plan to render like the back of the head in black. And you're probably only gonna see maybe this person's ear. And then it's like, you can kind of see how like it already starts happening, because once you start applying colors and values, tints, tones, and shades, that you start getting the elements of making something three-dimensional and having it feel lifelike. So, 6 elements of art: dots, lines, shapes, forms, textures, patterns. Will give you something 3D, and now we will put together something into a three-dimensional space. But first, we build this three-dimensional space. So, an exercise that once again happened from Chang Chu was we would basically draw the interior of a box to find the perspective space. And a lot of times that's how I see it, because using different colors, let me make sure I'm still in frame. Okay. So you're drawing, and you have your frame. So he would basically, I think he made us start by finding the center of our paper. And I mean, you can do this however you want. This is how I learned to find the center of a box, corner to corner. That's your center. And then everything else, the center of your paper, in the middle, top to bottom. And then I believe he had us do 6x6 squares. Something like that. And then we had to build off of that and create our three-dimensional space. And after that, everything had walls. Well, we had to do it all in one color. I do it in different colors now because it helps me separate and find things, or and it keeps it visually interesting, so I don't get lost in all bunch of muddled colors. But yeah, you find your center lines. And this is what all artists kind of do. This is how you find your linear perspective. This was what made the Renaissance painters so well known, because a lot of early art was very flat because they couldn't figure out linear perspective. And that is what we are working on. Linear perspective. And I mean, you can take a regular cardboard box that you have at home, and just draw, like, if it's a 20 by 20 box, then you need to draw 20 squares or whatever, or however you decide to break up the math inside that box. Draw the equilateral triangles, or not triangles, squares, and then kind of just look through the square, and you can see how all the lines begin to converge, and you basically have 1 point perspective, and this is 1 point. And from here, you got tile floors. You can find the center of your squares, the center of a sphere, anything. And a lot of times, I have other artists, because I've been part of different forums and tried to help other artists, or at least be part of comic books and help with all that stuff. And I've had artists tell me, like, oh, how do you remember, or how do you make it feel like, you know, there's things within the space? And it's like, because I can remember this, and when I'm mentally drawing, I've assigned objects to those walls. Because one's the floor, one's the floor, and one's the ceiling. Then all you got to do is remember what is going on which wall. Then, on top of that, whenever I was in my animation school, we had to draw sets. And so there would be times where you kind of draw kind of the beginning parts of a set, like if it was a television set, so that you can get an idea of what is going on in that space. Sometimes you draw it a little bit wider so that you can get other aspects of it, so that you can see where people are standing and where they'll go, and get your sense of scale. So you know, like if that person's there, then also using planes. That's where we're going to go to. Here are all your planes. And that's how you figure out your sizing and your scaling with perspective. So you have 1 point perspective. And you plotted that line. And so you know everything is going to come from that. Now, while, and be free to call me a crazy person, the horizon line, or a line, if dots or consecutive dots make a line, then your horizon line is comprised of nothing but points where you can make perspective. And this is where I feel like a lot of artists lose it in perspective, because you'll do something simple, basic form, will go above the horizon line. And so you draw your box, and you're like, okay, box is in there. Box feels good. But the thing is, if you keep drawing things in 1 point perspective, then it just feels like you have a 1 perspective drawing. And a lot of drawings are comprised of 1 point and 2 point to make them feel lifelike, so that it has some visual interest going on, and that and it gives your eye some variance. But you can see how, if you really wanted to, you could have just, well, not that you would have just done 1 point, because you got to use the 2, but you see how that you can easily find yourself confused by how it's achieved, how the illusions are achieved. I like how I just guessed that one. Anyway, so you have 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, of course. If you go too far with 3 point, you end back up at 1 point, because now you're just looking down at things. And you can do that if you have basically a box and you place cubes in it or objects. You can rotate it, and also get a sense of how to get your bird's eye view and your worm's eye view. So we're going to go back to perspective, and we're going to do a big example. One of my favorite things is to reverse engineer other people's art to see how they achieve their illusions. So you can break it down into the simple elements of art, or you can break it down to find. And also what happens is I will use, like if I can't figure out what's going wrong with my drawing, I will lay this over my drawing to correct my drawings into a better perspective. Some people trace. Tracing is not bad. Like I said, if you're going to trace, do it with the intent to find out. Like if you can't draw, you can trace to feel like you get finished results, but you should be breaking down to find your elements of art. And I know for ladies, it's a little bit different because ladies paint more, or they're better painters than they are linear artists. But still, it is worth your time to focus on that. So when you're drawing a people, and let's say we'll do the head, because we'll keep it simple forms. That way I don't overload too many folks. And so we're doing, and once again we got our head, and whoop, whoop, whoop. I have always started off with a form, a rectangle form, because that is how Mr. Pashley taught me. And after that, I stopped kind of using the Loomis head. It just works better. So you got your head, and you're finding, and this is a this isn't the head turned at 3/4. This is you looking in 1 point perspective at a not a 3/4 turn, but a head with one side. So you plot your lines where you think the brow line and the mouth would go. The opening of the orbital eye socket. Bring it in close for the chin. Bring it up for the end of the mandible. And your neck, and yada, yada, yada. So from there, you pretty much have the head down. And when I used to study like how to draw